We'll talk about that.
It's quite fun. Hello, my name's Ian.
Hi, I'm Jason.
And we're doing Sinners Review, which is a podcast about music and art and all of that sort of anything we fancy, really. Because the world needs another podcast. yeah. And if anybody wants to sponsor us, we're open to sponsorship, especially cinnamon bun sponsorship.
Sinners music, cinnamon.
There's a link there. Yeah, we could even do a sinner's bun. Yeah, couldn't we? Cinnamon bun. Anyway.
So episode 4.
Yeah, we missed episode 4 should have been last week, but actually we couldn't get together. It was Father's Day, so I was down in Exeter, you had stuff going on. So here we are, episode 4. We're planning to do them every week, but sometimes not. So,
yeah.
Anyway, all the others are linked down below. Excuse me, there's my voice. All the others are linked down below, so you can see what we've been up to in previous episodes. They're all good, but there again, I'm slightly biased. This one's going to be about festivals, because we're getting close to that there Glastonbury, which is next weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. The Isle of Wight Festival's on right now.
Is it?
That's on TV, I think.
All right.
It's on TV, might catch them later.
You know, they had one a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? The BBC had on. I quite fancy. I haven't seen any of it. Was it?
That would have been one of the radio...
Yeah. Was it Radio 1?
Yeah, in the park or whatever they call it, I think. The Isle of Wight's on at the minute. Glasto next week, got a festival type t-shirt on. You're looking pretty festival ready.
Yeah, well, this
shorts and sandals.
You see, my legs do not see daylight from one year to the next, and it's warm here in Somerset. It's warm across the country at the moment, but I've got shorts on. So if you're really lucky, I might show you my knees later on. And I did once win a nobby knee competition, but I won't go there. So yes, so what have you been doing this week?
Well, continuing to pay the tax man, so working and paying taxes again for first month back at work after a bit of a layoff, planned layoff. So we both played at an EMOM this week.
We did.
We all play since. It's
Bristol.
It's the first time in Bristol. It was good venue, great venue.
Really good venue, yeah.
Really good sound.
Yeah.
Nice visuals.
The size of the PA was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really crystal clear as well. Wasn't overpowering, wasn't too loud. So really good sound, in a good spot. There was some punters there. It wasn't just kind of people performing on the night.
It was pretty busy, wasn't it? It's not a massive room, but I mean, what would you say, 40 people?
Yeah, something like that.
You know, and there was 9 acts on, I think.
Yep.
I was on third. You were on in the second half.
welcome on stage Sonavida.
Yeah, we were on like 10 to 10 or something,
Yeah.
so there was a couple of acts after us. So it was pretty good.
It was good.
Maybe do it again.
Yeah, I'd love to do it again.
They're trying to be every month, aren't they, I think?
Yeah.
Quite a crew. There was a few guys all running it. It was very efficient.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Nice nice mix of acts, as you usually see at an EMOM. A good spread of everything, really. Guys with laptops, guys with banks and banks of modular.
There was two guys who were on right at the end, and it took them all of the second half. It was split into two halves. It was always like, I think it was 4 acts on the first half and then 5 on the second, something like that. And they started setting up at half time and we're still setting up in between. So they had it all behind them, and it was really good. I mean, but it did take them, you know, they needed a road crew of about 30, I think, because it was, there's a lot of space.
Well, they had all of that gear. There was a guy singing, playing guitar as well, with an incredible amount of gear. The thing that was nice about All Play Synths, which I've not seen it, you know, we've done quite a few EMOMs now. Leeds, York, Bournemouth, Frome,
Wells
and Bristol, amongst others. They do a little interview in between each set and talk about the gear you're using, which was quite interesting, because a lot of people are there for the gear envy, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it was quite good. They were talking about what you're using, how you're using it. So that was quite.
It was actually
different and interesting.
I think that's happened in York, not every time, but when I used to go do the York one, Simon would, right at the beginning when it first started, would sort of spend time just asking people, and it's quite a nice thing to do actually.
Yeah, it made it quite personable, and it was good to just do it, like, again, just everybody kind of get your techers out. I don't know, what was your takeaway? Who was your favourite? Anyone stood out for you?
Oh, Sonavida, obviously.
Of course.
Who was my favourite?
Your set was good, by the way. Your set was quite a departure for you.
It was different for me, wasn't it? Yeah.
High tempo.
Yeah.
The Aphex Twinny, glitches.
I'm pleased with that assessment. Yeah. It will probably end up on an album at some point, I think, because you know, I was pleased with how it went. It felt a bit of a rush for me at the beginning, because obviously we just arrived, 2 acts were already on, and then suddenly I'm on next, which wasn't our fault, because obviously it just takes such a long time to get to Bristol at rush hour, you know. And they obviously started bang on time, you know. But they were quite laid back about, you know, because he said to me, we're ahead of time, you know, you don't have to, you know.
Yeah, he was definitely very chill.
Yeah.
There was a guy, I think his name was Derek Kirk, who had the vinyl.
Actually, his thing was amazing.
So he had the vinyl of Dylan Thomas.
Yeah.
So he just played a record. It was just Dylan Thomas reading excerpts of his poetry. Into, I think, a 4-tape looper.
Yeah. So it was a 4-track, but he had tape loops as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, he explained it all beforehand, because otherwise he said it would have been a bit murk, because you wouldn't know what was going on. And once you knew what was going on, it was amazing.
I mean, it was very, very unique. It was very out there.
It was nothing. I've never seen. I have once seen something it was different again with turntables up in York, but nothing quite like that.
No, it was good. I mean, it was. I wouldn't listen to a whole hour of it.
No,
but for 15 minutes, he was creating it on the spot.
Yeah,
very unique, just picking up loops and rhythms and melodies from the speech line. He said he was inspired by your mate.
My mate William Baskinski, which the video has caused much controversy because I went just to cut a very long story. Go watch the video, I would say, if you're really that interested. But paid quite a lot of money to go see him in London, and he turned up drunk and played and just pressed play on a laptop. So there was no performance. He pretended to move a fader once and then stormed off. At the end, well, he didn't storm off, he just staggered off in a drunken haze.
But he's inspiring people to do their own thing and break creative boundaries.
Yeah.
So,
and I suspect, because there's been quite a lot of comments on that particular video, and some people have said the same sort of thing, that now that's what he does. He turns up with a laptop and a mixer and does nothing, really, just sits there. But there was a time when he actually used to perform with proper tape loops. And that's the bit that's inspiring people, actually, is to actually, and I have seen people do gigs with tape loops and reel-to-reels and cassette players and all of that, and that is fascinating.
I wonder why he's deviated away from that.
I think he looks like he's almost taking the money now. Yeah. Anyway, go watch the video if you're really that interested in him. But I will not be going back to one of his concerts anytime soon. Music was great, but I can still listen to a record.
So hats off to All Play Synths for having us play.
Yeah, he was good.
He was good. Yeah. Look forward to getting an opportunity to do it again. Should just shout out, there was a guy who followed us called Aztec Sounds. He was a guy on the laptop. So he was, everybody was talking about the gear, and he said, well, I'm 100% laptop, 100% Reason. Mm. But he got a lot out of it, considering he had, one platform, one door on one laptop. He was quite DJ shadowy, really nice beats, kind of dark, melodic tones. Yeah. It was all right. It was quite.
And everybody was really good. Because sometimes at an EMOM you can go and there's 15 minutes of noise, and it's not really your thing. But everybody I thought was really great. Actually.
Yeah, you're right. There's usually one out there you're going,
they want you to finish.
It's time to go to the bar or for a cigarette or the toilet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You kept everybody engaged. That was pretty good.
What else have I been? So what I have been doing this week, I have been digitising film. So I have a box sat down here, a box of films. I have 30 of these little films. Each one's 3 minutes, and they were my father's, which he was into Super 8. So I bought a digitiser, and I've literally sat here, and you can't really leave it. You have to let it. Each one takes about half an hour to digitise. It does it frame by frame.
Wow.
So it's quite a tedious process, really. But now that they've been done, some of the films are quite interesting. There's a bit of me trying to play on skateboard before skateboards were a thing. So slightly ahead of the game and falling off, obviously.
Well, it's good to keep
exactly,
those, to put them into the current format.
Yeah, nice. So they'll probably end up on some with some music behind them at some point in the future.
It would be good to do that.
So lots of holiday shots and things like that. But some nice shots of my uncle and my aunt and my grandma and my mum. So that literally took all week. So nothing much else has been going on really.
No, so mate, it was Tuesday, wasn't it?
Tuesday we last got together. Yeah, so nothing else has gone on since then really. I am finally getting round to putting out the next album, which is my album, the 96th Day of the Year, which we'd originally said was going to be next week, but it won't be. It'll be about, I think it doesn't matter when it comes out really, but I think towards the end of July. Okay. Before I go away, but that'll only be available on Bandcamp, so it won't be on streaming. I'll need to do the press release, which will then start.
Yeah, we'll do all the blurb for it.
Yeah, so but cool. And I might do some videos. Actually, I might use some of that footage. We obviously came down to, because we're quite near Longleat. It's literally 5 miles down the road. There is footage of us going to Longleat when I was a kid, and we then went on staying in Bournemouth of all places with some family. So there's all that sort of stuff, lions and tigers. Anyway, right.
Very good. So any cinnamon buns this week then?
No.
Sinners cinnamon?
No, and Jane was in town, and I did say, did you go near M&S? Because the best, in Frome, the best place to get a cinnamon bun, and it is not a perfect cinnamon bun, it's probably a 3 out of 5, maybe a 4 out of 5, is M&S. But no, she said, oh no, I walked past there and didn't think of going in. So no cinnamon buns this week, you know.
Disappointed.
Yeah, I know. So that's 2 weeks without a cinnamon bun. So anyway.
So should we talk about festivals?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we've taken a slightly different approach. My bit is about festivals that I've been to and played at. You've done a slightly different approach. You've done like a history of festivals.
Yeah, I just want to take a look at the kind of UK festival scene because legislation has changed. It's moved on. There's a lot of festivals struggled to stay afloat. Just with council legislation,
insurance as well,
security, insurance, and all of that sort of stuff. So I'd really looked at kind of the big guys. So I just focused on the big guys in the UK. So there's about 1,000 music festivals in the UK at the moment that are registered. I mean, you still get lots that are popping up. It's the summer solstice at Stonehenge only the weekend, right?
Yeah,
there's 25,000 people there.
Was there?
Yeah, 25,000 people. So I think it was the most
like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I was up at 4 this morning. I dropped my daughter at Bristol Airport. Left the house at 4:30. It was broad daylight. It's amazing.
Oh right,
being up at that sort of time as the sun's come up. Yeah. So I looked at 1,000 festivals in the UK. I guess really we chose to do festivals because Glastonbury's coming up. And you can tell, I don't know if you've seen it, but you can tell it's on, the amount of camper vans on the road.
I went past Pilton. It's 2 miles. The sign was 2 miles to Pilton on the way to Exeter because you go that way. And I could see that I could see cherry pickers in the distance and stuff like that.
All the security's there and all the little lanes and everything. So you can tell he's picking up, all the road signs are up. There's definitely lots of Glasto wankers around already. There's going to be 250,000 of them, but you can see there's camper vans, there's sleepers, there's people around already that you can tell are, starting the week off preparing. And people go in Wednesday, so
because that's when
it's a big old thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Glastonbury is it's the biggest. It's officially the biggest festival in the UK.
Right.
250, so 250,000 people, pretty much.
Yeah.
Go there. Is it something like it's the 4th most populated city in the country?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Something like that. I may be right, maybe wrong. It does generate over £100 million for the local economy here in the southwest. It's the most Instagrammable.
Oh wow.
And it's one of the longest running in the UK, of course. Yeah. Do you know what year it started?
71.
Very close, 70.
Oh, that's good.
So the first one was 1970, 1,500 people.
Yeah. I think I've seen pictures of it, actually.
T-Rex played. And they were a stand-in. So the original line, the Kinks were meant to play and didn't play, but T-Rex turned up. Played in front of 1,500 people. It was a £1 entry.
Now you're talking. That's not a kick.
Which is about 25 quid in today's money, so still cheap. So that's the first one in 70. Then in 71, it suddenly got a lot bigger. They developed the pyramid stage. They had 12,000 people already in its second year.
That's good.
David Bowie played in 71 and Fairport Convention and a few of those kind of bands.
I've seen Fairport Convention. Not really my sort of thing, but I did see them up in York.
Festival fodder, I guess.
They're very much so. They've done their own festival, I think, now.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they must be all in their 80s,
Yeah, I bet.
So
all through the 70s into the 80s, it was kind of on and off in the 70s. In the 80s, it became an annual event. It was co-organised by C&D, if you remember that. Was always the visual associated to Glastonbury. So that was in the 80s, started every year. In the 80s then you needed licensing and crowd limits were imposed. So, some of that structure and regulation kind of started there in the 80s. In the 90s, as it moved into the 90s, they had issues. There was being infiltrated by new age travellers. Remember that term?
I do.
Like basically, kind of hippies and there's lots of new age travellers, and local authorities were kind of not comfortable with that amount of people descending upon the site. It was first televised in 1994 on Channel 4.
All right.
So there was always shows showing a little bit of highlights, but the whole thing being televised was the first time was 1994 when Orbital headlined, and it helped kind of elevate that kind of dance music, what had, traditionally been rave culture, repetitive beats, but actually it was in people's homes because it was beamed live, which was quite interesting. They had obviously the hats with the torches on the top, so pretty iconic. The BBC began televising it in 1997, which was the infamous year when they had very, very heavy rain and it was all mud baths and everything.
I remember that.
Because it's all working fields, all the water flowed down into a valley, everyone was doing mudslides and everything. Radio headlined that year, I think, as well.
I do remember that.
1998 was the first year the attendance got past 100,000, and that was Pulp and Blur were playing, so it was very much that time.
Pulp a last minute standing? Because I thought it was something.
1998, probably. They were beyond the the end of Britpop, I suppose, around that time.
I can't remember who was supposed to headline, but somebody broke their wrist or there's something like that went on, and I'm pretty sure somebody, but in the comments will tell us, I'm sure for definite, that Pulp.
It was U2. You're right. It was U2.
U2. Right.
Your other mates.
My other mates. Yeah.
Bono. So Bono hurt himself falling off stage and had to cancel. You're right. And I think Pulp were standing.
Yeah.
They got elevated.
And I do remember them seeing them play Babies on the BBC and thought, wow. I mean, I loved Pulp already, but it was like it really cemented it for them. They became massive after that, I think. Really.
So that was the 90s, end of Britpop. 2000s. Security measures had to be taken because of gate crashes. So in the late 90s and the 2000s, the attendance was doubled because half of the people there were ticketless and were climbing over the fence. So that's when they started putting the fence up, and you can see as you drive past it now, the fence completely encapsulates the whole site. So that got the fences started going up in 2002. I mean, that's a year-round operation.
I'm going to say the fence isn't permanent, is it? And you would think, I know that it's not only their farm, is it? It's all farms around the area, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you would think that should they have a permanent fence?
But I think it's a working farm normally when the festival's not on.
When it's not on, and then they won't be on next year because it's a fallow year.
Yep.
So, So
that was 2000, 2010. They did have a couple of fallow years then. The most famous thing in 2010 was the time Jeremy Corbyn was there, and he was like, "Oh, Jeremy Corbyn."
Yeah.
If you remember that was pretty big at that time. So that was 2017. Fast forward into the current decade, they had 2 down years, obviously because of COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
Came back in 2022 with Billie Eilish.
Oh yeah.
She was the youngest ever headliner.
Yeah.
I'm throwing out the facts here, aren't I?
You are. One of the best concerts I ever saw there, and it might have been before the Billie Eilish one, was Seeing Lord, because it was just her on stage, but she had this great big massive like a glass box, and her performance, she was captivating.
That would have been this decade, wouldn't it?
It was, yeah. It was, so it might have been when her second album came out.
Is she playing this year? I haven't seen.
Not sure. Not sure.
So 2022, Billie Eilish, youngest headliner ever. Set was pretty good. You can't kind of knock what she did.
I like that first album. I just think that she hasn't moved on, really. The second album was more of the same, which I lost interest in.
It's her sound, though, and it spawned another generation of singers.
But then you're starting to get people that are a bit like that because it's popular.
So that was the same year Paul McCartney played, if you remember, and he did that thing with John Lennon where he used AI to recreate it on stage.
Yeah. That's when he came and played here, didn't he?
He did a warm-up gig at Cheese and Train, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's done the warm-up this year? Gary Newman,
which I didn't buy tickets for, and I had the opportunity. I'm so over that sort of historical.
He played, was sold out. So they were supported actually by a local band called Sweet Machine. If you've heard of them,
I've seen them.
They're a synth band.
Seen them, yeah.
We're playing with them at Box.
Oh yeah, they're all right actually. Right. I saw them at last year's Froome Festival. They played a gig. The other people that came, I actually quite fancied. I was late to this, and I missed the email. CMAT. Right. If she hasn't come, she's playing as a warm up, and she was the only one that I was vaguely interested in. There were also the other one was Kate Nash was sold out as well. not really that interested in that. It's one hit wonder to some extent, but she's very vocal about how difficult it is for an artist like her, who's obviously filling quite decent.
She's
sized
probably
venues.
like B-list. You know,
She is.
She's B-list.
Well, you know, that,
She's
I mean,
struggling to make a
Foundations
living,
was a
right?
great song, and that first album I really liked. And her last album was okay, actually. I did have a listen to it. It didn't stay on my Apple Music, but the other one is The Selector. Well, that wasn't sold out. Again, I wasn't that bothered about seeing them, but I wish I'd seen Matt, because I think she's. I don't even know she's English.
I think she's Irish.
She's Irish. That's right. She's Irish. And the CMAT thing is her initials, CMAT. So that's her full name. And their stuff's pretty good, actually. I'm not listening to it a lot, but I liked it enough that I wish I got tickets.
I've seen a couple of things. Good entertainment.
Yeah.
She's kind of doesn't take herself too seriously.
No,
as well.
and I'll get to see her on. One thing that is worth mentioning, I can be very critical of the BBC as an organisation and the wastage of what the BBC do sometimes, but their coverage of Glastonbury is literally second to none. You know, I mean, I have sat here waiting for a stage to come on because the camera's on all the time, and I like that about it.
And you've got the red button for 30 days.
Yeah,
you can pretty much watch anybody.
You're getting a bit of the vibe of.
I've discovered some bands from watching it on
me
BBC that
too.
I would never have
Absolutely.
heard of. You know, some of the stuff that's on in the day that you wouldn't ordinarily find.
The only, again, it's always good to have a criticism as well. There never seems to be enough from the introducing stage for me.
No.
You know, I'd like to see more of those up and coming acts that are maybe they've just signed a record deal, or you know they're. But I mean that you could, you know, but the coverage generally is really, really good. You know, I mean, I'm not interested in seeing Rod Stewart. I see Rod Stewart was on the cover of bloody Radio Times this week.
Really?
I'm thinking, for God's sake, you know. I liked Rod Stewart back in the day when I was growing up. You know, with the Faces, great band. You know, good songs. But come on, man. Anyway.
So the last little bit on Glastonbury.
Yeah.
And then maybe move to some of your experiences.
Yeah,
so the tickets for this year were sold out in 35 minutes.
Wow.
I think it's like £373 for a weekend ticket.
A weekend ticket, yeah.
Yeah. The festival made, in 2024, the festival made a pre-tax profit of £5.9 million, so £6 million. But they did donate £5.2 million of that to charities. It's not 100% not for profit, but it's as good as.
I didn't know. I really didn't know that, and I think that's. I mean, my first thought was when you said £5 million, I'm thinking that's actually not a lot of money with the amount of work and effort that goes into it. And I know they're paying everybody. Although one year there was some criticism of not paying. Somebody was not being paid,
Right.
and I don't quote me on that. But anyway, generally people get paid. If you work in there. I know there's a volunteer thing where you can go and work there, you know, for Greenpeace or somebody, or Oxfam, isn't it? Not Greenpeace, where you can work with Oxfam and other organisations, and you get in for free, and then you'll get.
I think all the
off.
workers do. You know, litter pickers.
Yeah.
You know.
So there is that element. I quite fancy doing that one year because I think I should go and experience it at least.
You generally do most of the work in the morning. And
And then you've got. I mean, I'm not.
Supposedly.
I don't like large crowds generally. So
250.
I know
people.
exactly. Yeah, but actually, even if it's one day, even if I can get a ticket for next year to go on the Sunday, might not be a bad thing to do because, you know. And somebody around Froome was saying, one of the Facebook groups was saying that they think that Froome is in the catchment area. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe
But it's worth.
Well, they're not on next year, are they?
It's worth looking. Oh, maybe 2 years, won't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, any more?
Well, so that's a Glastonbury explainer. I've looked at some other UK ones, which we'll maybe do in part 2.
We're gonna, because we're splitting this into. It was 3 times. Was the last one? Three. We went on a bit. We did nearly an hour and a half. So we're gonna split this into. This is 25 minutes so far. So we're gonna say, watch out for part 2 because it'll be coming. If you wanted to listen to this and didn't want to see our ugly mugs, the whole of this will be available on your podcast provider of choice.
Except
No, it will be. It will be. It will be on.
One that sounds like Shopify.
Yeah, Spotify. Don't buy Spotify. It will be on Spotify because we aren't playing any music. The minute we play music, they tend to ban it. But anyway, so we'll be back shortly. So see you soon.